One of the most popular words in the health and fitness dictionary is the magical core. Yet I find that when people come into the clinic, they have no idea what the core really is, how to engage the core musculature. They all think it's the abs, those strong abs that are supposed to be your core stabilizers, or in reality, that's just not the case. So in this video, we teach everybody what the core is, how to engage it in a first of 3-part core stability series. Today we're going to deal with beginners, so strengthening your core for beginners, and then the next week we're going to do intermediate, and then finally we're going to do advanced. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure you watch until the end because we're getting to all the really cool beginner core exercises at the end of the video. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so now we're going to talk about the anatomy of the core. So most people think that the core is actually your abs, the most superficial abdominal musculature. However, the core is really the deep abdominal, lumbar, and pelvic floor musculature. And so the transverse abdominis, as you see here, is one of the major core muscles that activates whenever you do a movement. So if I move my arm up or I move my leg to the side, the research shows the first muscle that turns on is your transverse abdominis. And so those are the deeper core muscles that really support your body. And it's not just the transverse abdominis. The obliques are also part of the core musculature. So because the core acts like a hammock and sling system, you also have really awesome core muscles in your spine called the multifidus, as you see here. And the pelvic floor is kind of the bottom of the core, sac, which you see here as well. And so all of these muscles, both the transverse abdominis, the obliques, the multifidus in the spine, and the pelvic floor on the bottom, comprise your core system. And this is the system that we need to strengthen and teach you how to engage so that you're able to support your low back when you're doing any kind of a stressful activity. So a lot of people are asking me now, well, David, if the core is all of these muscles, there's the transverse abdominis, there's the multifidus, there's the pelvic floor, there's the obliques, are there different exercises to strengthen different ones? And the answer is yes. However, all of these muscles activate when you move a limb, or when you walk, or when you bend to lift something off of the floor. And so contracting them as one unit is really the way to go. And then more superficially, as we'll see in the more intermediate and advanced videos, we'll work on activating them in different ways. But to start off today, we're just going to learn how to activate the entire group of muscles as one unit. Patients come into the clinic, a lot of times they say, well, David, I'm already doing all those crunches. I'm already working my core. Well, they don't really understand that working your core is not about working the rectus abdominis, which are the muscles that you work when you do those crunches. And not only do they not really engage your core in the best way, but they also put a lot of pressure on your back. And so 10, 15, 20 years ago, crunches were the way to go, but today we're phasing out a lot of the crunches for a lot of the other exercises, which we're gonna do right now. All right, guys, we're gonna do the vast majority of this video on the mat because the best way to start engaging and working your core is in a no gravity position, where you're actually having gravity on your side. And so the back is the best position to start core strengthening. And so that's what we're gonna do today for all you beginners. If you're more on the intermediate or advanced level, we're going to have a whole video on that next week and then the week after. But for today, we're going to stay on our back to really teach you how to engage your core. Remember, it's so important we start to learn how to engage your core so you can start to transfer it into all these other functional activities that you're doing. So without further ado, let's get into it. First way we're going to start engaging our core is to be in this hook lying position where your knees are up and feet are down. And you're going to arch your back all the way and then try to flatten it. So almost like a pelvic tilt, arching it and then flattening it. And then once we start flattening it, I want you to think of the drawing in maneuver where there's a string that connects from your belly button that goes towards your spine, and you're trying to just push in that belly button all the way in towards your spine. And again, gravity's helping you in this position. And you're just pushing your belly button right in down towards your spine, engaging your core. And the key with this is you have to make sure you're breathing as you do this. A lot of people can brace their core, but then they can't breathe. And that's useless because that's not functional. We have to breathe. And we also want to make sure we're relaxing the muscles as we do it. And so as we're bracing our core, bringing the belly button in towards the spine, holding for about 5 seconds, I want you to make sure you're breathing normally. So I'm doing that right now. And as you can tell, I'm not really holding my breath. I'm just breathing normally, diaphragmatically, and just making sure that I'm engaging my core stabilizers and breathing normally. And you don't have to engage so deeply that you're almost crunching your back. Just bring your belly button down, brace your core as if someone was going to punch you in the stomach. 5 to 10 second holds, 10 times with this. Once you guys have mastered the ability to engage your core while maintaining a normal breathing pattern, now we're going to progress it. And so we're going to get into that normal core stabilization position where you're doing that pelvic tilt but making sure you're getting a nice breathing pattern going. And while you're maintaining that, you're going to bring your knee out into the side and then back. Make sure you're breathing the whole time and bracing. So you don't want to be arching your back and then shifting your whole pelvis, right? The whole point of this is that you're moving other limbs while you have good core stability. So bracing your core, normal breathing pattern, and then just out to the side. About 10 times on each leg with this. Making sure you're completely braced. Now, if you're having a difficulty bracing your core, you can always wrap up a towel roll, put it in the small of your low back, and then push into it. And so to use that as like a tactile cue to help you out. About 10 times with this one on each side. All right, guys, here's progression number 3 and number 4. So get into that core stabilization position. Make sure your breathing is pretty good. Now we're going to slide your heel down, making sure you're completely stable, and back. About 10 times on each side with this one, making sure my core is completely engaged. As you bring the leg down, when you do this one, you're going to have that tendency to arch your back. So make sure you're really stable here with your core and that your breathing is normal as you slide the heel back. About 10 times on each side. Once you guys have that one, we move on to the 4th progression, which is a march, alternating march. So brace your core, bring one knee up, bring one knee down. It's going to be much easier to bring the knee up than it is to bring the knee down. As you bring the knee down, your back has a tendency to arch, so make sure you have that nice core stability going. And you can just go back and forth with this one, making sure your core is stable the whole time and you're maintaining a normal breathing pattern. So those are 2 good progressions. The next 2 progressions are much more difficult. So make sure you're really confident with the first 4 before we move into these next 2. For the exercise number 5, we're going to have the leg straight. Now we're going to do a straight leg raise. You're going to bring the leg up and then slowly come down. The down on this is really hard. You got to make sure you're completely stable here and you're not arching your back. And we're going to do about 10 of these, making sure you have a good core stability with normal breathing. If you're really struggling to brace your core and you're not able to breathe, you got to regress. Or when you do the leg raise, don't go as high up. You know, maybe go till about halfway over here if you're really struggling with this. The higher up you go as you come down, the more difficult it is. Nice core stability pattern, normal breathing, about 10 times on each side. For number 6, and this is even harder than the last one, we're going to start in this hook lying position, core stability, normal breathing, and we're going to march up, then without putting the foot down, come back straight, back to neutral, and then down. Again, march up, legs straight, but not on the floor, back to neutral, and then down. You shouldn't have a lot of pelvic movement with this. That's the whole point. You shouldn't be arching your back. You should be in a stable position that you can move other limbs with. About 10 times with that as well on each side. Next exercise is going to work on core endurance. So we're going to bring the knee up, and then with your hands, I want you to push into the knee. This will also help engage your core, and just hold it for about 10-15 seconds. Make sure you're maintaining that normal breathing pattern as you do it without arching the back. Nice normal core brace. You're pushing your knee into your hands. We call this a hip flexion isometric exercise. You can also progress this into the sitting position, but easier to start off on your back. And then about 5, 10 to 15 second hold. Same thing on the other side. Now, I would even progress this till about 20, 30, 45 seconds just to improve the endurance of your core stabilizers and to make sure that you're able to breathe and brace pretty easily at the same time. Alright guys, you see I've moved to the quadruped position, and that's because we have to learn how to engage your core in more than just one position. And so once you've mastered the ability to do it on your back, now we're going to do it in quadruped, which is the opposite, because now when we push the belly button in towards the spine, it's going against gravity instead of with gravity. So hands and knees, arch your back all the way, flatten it all the way, and try to find that middle ground. And then once you find it, push your belly button in towards your spine. Don't round your back, right? Just push the belly button in towards your spine just to engage the core. Hold it for about 5 or 10 seconds. Again, normal breathing pattern in this position. And then just relax. 5 to 10 second holds about 10 times. All right, now we move to the sitting position. So when you're sitting, you want to make sure your feet are on the floor. There's a 90-degree angle between your shin and your thigh and your trunk. And then what you want to do is the same that we did before. Arch your back all the way, flatten it all the way, find that middle ground, push your belly button in towards your spine as you're breathing normally, hold for about 5 to 10 seconds, 10 times. And so now we've done it on your back, we've done it on your hands and knees, we've done it sitting, you could also try it standing, you can also try it on your side, but now you guys have all gotten the ability to engage your core and are ready for the intermediate video next week, and now we're going to start doing much more advanced progressions. But now that you know how to maintain and brace your core, the same principles will apply for every exercise in the next 2 videos. So make sure you have these down pat. The progressions that we did on the back, where we were doing the leg raise and having the knee fall out, can also be done on your hands and knees or sitting down. I can also do those hip flexion isometrics sitting down, bracing the core, pushing into the knee, make sure your shoulders aren't hiking up and you're able to breathe pretty normally. You can also brace your core and do the leg fallouts. You can brace your core and do the knee coming up straight and back down. There's multiple different progressions to do in sitting the same way we did it on the back. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely make sure you click on the next one and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos that come out Sunday and Wednesday. Have an awesome day, strengthen your core, and we'll see you next time.